I think the best part of Drunk Ariane is the fact that the inntaker, the inn owner, whatever you want to call her, just is in awe of it. Not only did she supply the booze, she also was very much enjoying the sounds coming from upstairs, thinking of young love and how much they must be enjoying each other's company. Even though they didn't technically do the nasty, it's always that phrase I come back to. A drunk man's actions are a sober man's thoughts, and that's basically what alcohol does. I mean, some people, it exposes the evilness within them, but I mean, the average Joe who gets drunk, that's just them without a filter. And seeing Ariane without a filter was definitely interesting because I think most of us have assumed there's some chemistry between these two, even though he is bone and all bone. Hell, he does have a magic spell that could at the very least make him human in certain areas for a temporary time, so it's not impossible. But the idea of seeing this woman just shit-faced drunk after 2 times, I'm glad it's not just Yor from Spy Family who can't hold her liquor and maybe goes back to the bottle a little more than necessary. But just seeing her just so, give me more as she's hungry for that bottle, as he just doesn't know what to do with this situation. It's always glorious. I think anime doesn't use the drunken trope enough, and when it is there, it's mostly what you've seen before, but it doesn't change the fact that it always gives me a giant grin, and Arc's Wild Night was something to remember for sure. As I love how the fact that even afterwards, instead of being super embarrassed by everything, when he's talking with the woman, he's just talking about, just how wild it can be up there. And I'm just like, my man is no chill, and I love it. This was a really good episode for a couple of different reasons. First of which, we got to see some really fun action and magic attacks and just goofy shenanigans that we've come to be accustomed to. But it definitely propels the idea of what Ariane thinks of humans, because, it's no real surprise, elves and humans just don't get along. A couple of them might end up being fine with each other, but the idea of an elf being a part of a human village is something that you don't think is possible, given the environment, given, the slavery and everything like that. But the fact that you get introduced to this elf who basically hires our group to help collect this giant Star Wars looking creature, and I love the fact that it's not even the map that is the big thing on why they take up the quest. It's my boy and his gamer wet dream of just wanting a book full of monster details, because literally, if he sees wyverns in the sky, he goes bananas, but if you give him a book full of details, that's bedtime reading he can't pass up. But I love seeing her just get so annoyed with this guy, because for her, she always has to make sure her hood's up, because, the closer you get into those deeper human villages, towns, cities, especially near lords, you have to be very cautious, else, even if you're as strong as her, she could get kidnapped, she could be sold, and horrible, disgusting things could happen. So the fact that she's, trying to help this guy, and this guy is just so accustomed to this town that they all love him, it's something that, even though her eyes can clearly see what's going on, her heart can't believe it. She's had so many years living with the fear of humans and knowing they can't be trusted. And sure, Arc is technically a human, but I mean, physically he looks like a skeleton. And even though he might someday look completely like a human, that's a very select case. It's not an entire town. They're gonna, if they ever need money, they're going to sell you off. But the idea that he's kind of the first real elf to get through to her, that maybe things can change, especially with dropping the information about how there's a lord who married an elf, and she's like, well, then clearly he stole her, or he captured her. No, he in fact saved her from slavery, and they're trying to make the world more peaceful so that humans and elves can coexist. They stuck in that really strong story hook, but it wasn't overbearing. It wasn't really super in your face, but it came up at the appropriate moments. Sometimes when they were talking, sometimes in the drunken talk. It was just nice to see, and the fact that, just simple moments like someone making her a nice cup of tea that just so happens to be a human, and he doesn't have any resentment towards you because of your pointy ears. I love the fact that they're able to get across that storyline, which I think if you're ever going to use elves, I mean, that's why pretty much every writer has, some form of discrimination plotline, because it just naturally works with the kind of elves hate humans, humans hates elves, and they each blame each other for why the hatred started, but no one can actually stop it. I think they did a great job with Skeleton Knight. I think in general it was a pretty comfy episode, overall anyway, but I like the fact that this show knows how to blend the serious and the comfy, and with only a couple episodes left to go, it's kind of sad, right? Because similar to them about to reach their destination, so too is the anime about to come to a close. And whether they sequel bait us with something dramatic, Arc regaining human body, Arc discovering something massive, or a number of different possibilities. There's so many ways that this show could leave us off, and whether we get more or not, it's going to be interesting, because given this kind of feels like one of those anime that you could watch for 100 episodes, at least that's how I feel anyway. It's one of those shows that I know I'm never going to get as many episodes as I truly want for this show, but it does feel like the plot is truly just getting going, and it'd be a shame if we didn't get at least one more core worth of episodes, because from the princess and the prince storyline and the sabotage going on there, the kind of subtle storyline, is Ariane going to be the martyr, the motive for change in this world against discrimination with elves? And of course you have Arc and his quest to get his human body back, as he simultaneously thinks he's living a very casual life, when in fact he's the person navigating this and kind of destroying this world in general, good or bad. I mean, sometimes he helps people, other times he revives nobility who might end up thinking that they're the chosen one from God. And hell, you can even look at the end of the episode with this pimp boy over here. He has a couple ladies around his arms, and you're thinking, okay, he's a playboy, but at the very least, apparently he gets his work done. And then he tosses them into the pit once he's done with them, because he has to feed his monsters. As they're continuing to make that, ring that goes around these creatures relevant, whether it's the thing in the pit or the creature they were fighting in this episode, there's so much going on, and it's hard to believe we've only watched 10 episodes of Skeleton Knight. It really feels like we've been a part of this world longer, and the fact that I could still see myself watching another 90 episodes, it's kind of insane to me. But yeah, I love this one. I think it's definitely one of the more fun shows of the season. It definitely has its serious moments, its more mature moments, but it knows how to let Arc and Ariane's relationship and adventure really define the show and make an episode pop, as they each have their own personal struggle. For Ariane, it's of course can humans and elves coexist? I mean, just look at what they came off of with the kidnapping of all those young elves. For Arc, he wants his human body back, but also to figure out what his true purpose in this world is. Of course, for the viewer, I think the kind of rebuilding of what the next 1,000 years are going to look like is kind of future in destiny, even if he hasn't quite realized it. But it's just great to see these two cute, serious, drunk, all the above. It's pretty damn fantastic. It'll be interesting to see, though, how they decide to wrap up the last couple of episodes. I mean, even if it is a giant sequel bait, go read the source ending sort of a thing, it's one of those shows that it feels hard not to imagine it gets a season 2, just because of it fits all the right criteria for a popular anime, but one that you could make without it being super strenuous for the animators, meaning it could be a quicker turnaround. Despite having some beautiful magic and fighting animation, in general it's a pretty simple looking show, but the character designs, the color palette, the solid background details really let a show like this pop, so it never feels boring, even if it's not the most action-oriented episode of the week sort of a thing. But yeah, I'm excited for more. Skeleton Knight continues to be one of the sleeper hits of the season, if you ask me. Thought it was going to be good, but it just continues to be a nice steady climb, and it will be interesting to see if maybe the last episode will truly end in such a bang that it'll get even more people to check out this wonderful show. But thoughts, if you have any down below, let me know what you're feeling and hope to see in the last couple of episodes. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.